Hello everybody, Isabella from Attire here, and today we have a guest model, I suppose. Lucas, you are well aware of him in his undergarments, so there he is again wearing his usual chemise and nice stockings. Ruff.
That's the rough.
Anyway, I'm already dressed. You'll get a similar video of what I'm wearing at some point on the channel. So we are looking at the gentleman's attire from the Elizabethan era, namely 1580s, 90s. So we have a couple of options here. The basic layer is the same. It's the linen shirt with little ruffs, sometimes black work, sometimes not. That's the layer that will be washed most often. So a gentleman would have several different options here. And stockings, we can have quite fine stockings, or hose, or proper winter knitted ones as well. That's nice wool stocking, that's perfect for winter. I think we're staying with the other ones first. Now, a gentleman of that era would have several different options available as far as his lower half is concerned. We have two different today, so we just put this one's first on. These are Venetians. So they're basically what we nowadays call breeches, and they are possibly the simplest type from that period. You see them quite a lot starting about, I think, 70s, and then continue a bit later on and basically changed into 17th century breeches. So that's just grey silk lined with linen. The legs close with hooks and bars, and they are pointed to your doublet. So we have nice points here. I'll just ask Lucas to put them on. I'm going to cover him just in case there's any glimpse of unmentionables. Unmentionables.
Unmentionable?
Okay, hide your unmentionables, Lucas. There you go. So there would be a pretty standard sort of breeches. They can be decorated quite extensively. This is a very, very plain pair. And let me just do one leg at least.
Finally, not the maid.
And obviously, yes, he would have his groom or a body servant to do those kind of things. I'll just do one bit. We're not worrying. So as you can see, pretty voluminous. They can be, especially later on, quite fitting as well, and have different styles. So that's the first option. You can take them off now. We're getting a much more exciting option now, which is the trunk hose. And trunk hose has so many varieties. It can be with pains or without. It can be with canyons or without canyons. It can be with full hose. So the nether and upper hose. Really a lot of variations in the era. But these ones, I mean, look at that thing! I made these! I can't believe I made these. These are just ridiculous pants.
Spectacular.
So the trunk hose is the upper part, that's basically the trunk hose here, which is padded and wadded. It has lots of stuff going on in it. They're quite tricky to make. And then you have the decorative paints of silk stitched on top of that, and they do not go into the waistband. They are stitched, can't really see, just below the waist. The calf pleated and stitched just below the waistband. This part here, let me show, that little leg, that's the canyons. Originally, I think they were Spanish for canyon, which is a tube, I think, or canyon. So there you go, these are the two tubes. But you could also have a trunk hose with a full-footed hose, or you can have them without anything else, with just very long stockings or hose. And earlier ones would have a codpiece, quite a prominent one in Henry's era, but they are at this point disappearing slightly, so you can have just sort of plain bits without the codpiece. And again, they lace up to the doublet. Let's let Lucas get his up. So they do have a fly that sort of flaps over and laces up, but not the colourful cut pieces of the decade before. Again, they can be very plain, they can be made in wool, even wool and pants with wool if you were middle class, or they can be a very, very showy affair, like here with silk and silk stuff. Now let me help you out a bit with this one. Can I have a look?
Thank you, darling.
So you get the fly is already laced up, so you have a nice flap. I forgot to do one thing, which is, I should do in a second. The stockings here on the house goes over the canyons.
We can do that now.
Right.
By we.
This is what happens when your husband gambles everything and we just we lose servants. And I have to perform those things.
Have to look the part though.
I love these, they're so funny. They do have 2 pockets as well, so you can stuff them even more. And you can have garters. It's a bit squashed. Okay. There you go.
We're going cross garters.
You're going
Well, there we
cross
go.
garters with nice bows. So you can see there's a lot of padding here as well. There's lots of sort of padded sausage put over there. And the whole set was made using the Tudor tailor patterns and instructions. I've changed bits and pieces as fitted to whatever I needed. But basically, am I doing it all right? No, I'm not doing it all right. There we go.
Really, cross.
I'm not really used to men's stuff.
Some circulation would be nice.
There you go, I'll get it. So if you want to recreate these, or the Venetians or doublets and stuff, have a look at their patterns and their books. Really recommend it. I supplement it with the Janet Arnold's books because you can have quite a lot of details on the inside and how it all worked. Oh, is it nice? Is it tight enough?
It'll do for now.
So I have 2 pockets somewhere here. I found one,
I've already demonstrated those.
Oh, pockets. Let's hide your flap here. Right, so they're sort of staying on its own, but ideally we would lace them onto a doublet. And doublets at that time have a very peculiar feature, which is quite puzzling, because they have a piscot belly. This is a pretty modest piscot belly, and it's not very stiff. I might pad it up a little bit more at some point, but get it on, actually. But it was fashionable to have a little bit of a belly. As you can see, there's a lacing strip here. Let me have a look here. This is just a piece of leather with a lot of holes, so I can lace whichever hose or trunk hose or Venetians I want, so it's quite flexible. You can have the same lacing strip in linen, or you can lace it through the doublet, which you can see as well, and in which case very decorative ties would be used, or points would be used.
Nice first.
So now I'm going to do these. So coming back to the piscot belly, no idea why, but it was maybe a sign of, well, you know, you could afford to eat well, but it was very fashionable to have a little bit belly hanging over. So, and if you are unfortunate and just like as Lucas do not possess a natural one, you have to use a padded doublet. So this doublet has been, it's actually quite a lot of tailoring going on inside, surprisingly so, because you have canvas, you have a couple of different layers of patch-stitched wadding, you have boning inside, you have buckram. There are records saying that some of the most fashionable peascod bellies were stiff as a board and quite big. So what he's wearing here is quite modest, so I might pad it up a little bit more at some point. And the other side, just side please. So yeah, if you have definitely not a six-pack kind of era.
More the keg.
More of a cake, I suppose. They're quite bizarre, but hey, whatever. And the next side, the next side. So as you can see, I've got loads of holes here in that lacing strip, so I don't have to match precisely the holes in the holes in hose or trunk hose at the same time, which is quite handy because you can alternate bits. And I have one more here. Now another type of hosen would be the Prudde hose. So that's something for me to do in the future, I think. They're so ridiculous that I just have to make them. I've put a couple of pictures here, but
Who gets to wear those, darling?
well, not me. And one more here. Go. Okay. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge, but I think after making these ones, they took much longer than I thought I would take. Oh, and I laced it wrongly. So the Prudde hosen is on a menu at some point. It would be different fabric to these because I've run out of this one, I think. But they basically have a few panes, fewer than these ones, have bigger panes. And a lot of that fabric was just gathered in bags, basically, and hanging out. Don't put it up yet. Now, we have also another tie here, somewhere. Because I did wrongly. That goes through holes in a doublet as well. That's a little bit here. And the rest is buttons.
Your favourite?
Not really, but there you go. So the look is quite startling, I must say.
Dazzling. Dashing.
Dashing, yes. I'll go with dashing. But it's quite a peculiar one too. Buttons. Now this doublet hasn't been really decorated a lot. It has some decoration with a very subtle braid, but some doublets are really decorated with lots and lots and lots of trims, self-trims, lace, absolutely chock-a-block. Would take months to do by hand, and it did take months to do by hand. And obviously that would be very much a status thing. So if you wanted to be shown in court, you didn't come in your, plain wools. You would show your best. So very often a suit like that would cost, years' wages from the middle class. So that would be an enormous investment, but that's what it was. It was an investment. If you wanted to be in court, if you want to do a favour with a reigning monarch, you need to look the part. And also you would be taking care of the clothing, so you'd be wearing that not for one season, but for as long as possible, and you would just update the looks. What was that? I'm not sure. Oh, I forgot to make a buttonhole in this one. Hold on.
I'll be right back.
With the buttonhole in a top fabric, but not in lining. So you will be really taking care of your clothing. Nothing would be taken and thrown back out. And you also see on the original clothing that a lot of the doublets and stuff were pieced up from bits of fabric, so you'll be using as many pieces as possible to make stuff up. So that's, as someone noticed, a very little finger look. Give it a spin a bit. So yeah, I could definitely pad this one a little bit more. Yeah, I'll pad it a little bit more. That's your first look. Now, you have more options. A jerkin goes on top. And that was basically a flashy, this one's, if I can make this one's, a very flashy kind of waistcoat. And in this case flashy, but obviously it can be made for lower classes out of leather on wool. If you want decoration, it would be tooled leather. So again, a lot of options. I'm having my quota of buttons here today.
Quite.
I delete the last ones. We need ruffs. So I did it ruff. Now jerkins again, some extant examples are decorated to the point of being really silly. Amazing amount of work. But again, it did not exactly take a lot of fabric, so you could piece up stuff from any remnants. You could have ones that close, so you can close in the front with buttons, a lot of buttons, or hooks and eyes. This one was made according to an example from Janet Arnold, and the original item doesn't have any trace at all of any fastenings. So I was being lazy, and I didn't make any.
I think it looks splendid anyway.
So that's our
shows off these buttons nicely as well.
Yes. I might stamp it at some point because it looks a bit plain at the moment.
Plain.
So I might stamp it a little bit. And that's one of the, you couldn't really pink a garment or slash the garment after it's been made, but I think stamping, it might just work. So it will just add a little bit of that surface decoration here. And let me have a look. Put your shoes on, please.
I shall do. Sit to it.
I must say I really enjoyed making it. It's been a bit of an adventure. Not my first doublets from that era, but I think my second ever hose. I made the first pair my goodness, about 25 years ago, when I still lived in Poland, and it was very different kind of I didn't know much then. It was still using Janet Arnold's actually, but I didn't know that much about the internal construction to do them justice. Right, you have easy access to that. Not too bad. Right, ruffs. I should have put it before. I really should have put it before, underneath all the colours.
We can tuck it in.
Oh, yeah. Tuck and drop it is. As it is. And we have little ruffs for the hands, and again we should have done it before.
Never got these sleeves over a ruff as well.
That's true. So ruffs could be just tacked onto the sleeves actually, together, and they would be removed quite a lot for washing because obviously you would not be really washing your doublet a lot, if ever. But you would be you're washing your ruffs and your linens. So ruffs would be made up, washed, starched, arranged in pleats, and then baked so that it's set in the same bed. So they were a relatively easy way, well, time-consuming but easy way of using just a plain strip of linen and made them into something decorative. Well, we need a hat, but also a cape. Now, capes from that era, again, lots of options. You have circular, you have semicircular, which is one of these. They can be with a hood, especially for travel. They can be with a self-colour, so a colour that will be cut out from the shape of the cape at the same time without any seam and just flopping nicely over, or with a high collar to put underneath your ruff as well, or without anything else like this one. Again, this one is based on pattern from Janet Arnold, and the original has a nice cord stitched on the top here, but I haven't really found that the cord I really liked, so at the moment it just sports a temporary closure. It just laced up. So I'm going to leave it on for a second. And once I get suitable nice braid with tassels, I'm going to swap it. They usually had quite decorative facings or linings, and you can go and lobby for your cream.
Indeed, in these colours, perfect.
The hat is the last bit to go, apart from gloves, thank God. And you have again a huge array of tall hats and soft caps as well. I think we're going for tall hats. And just with an earring and it'll be perfect. Oh.
With a jaunty angle. No love lock today.
There you go. So there you go, Elizabethan couple. It's 90s. I'm quite proud of that.
So you should be.
Wow.
A spectacular ensemble, I think. What do you think?
Gosh. No wonder they didn't really want to let go of that for several years. It's quite a silly kind of style, but I'm not really sure about. I think this needs to be a little bit tighter.
Yes.
I'll do it in a second. I'll take some photos. So yeah, let's take it outside for some photos, and thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this little glimpse into male fashion of late 16th century, do buy us a coffee. I will share with Lucas, I promise.
Caffeinated
The
for me,
dregs.
please.
Thank you so much for watching.